Today I'm going to put all these guts inside of a box that can be mounted on the wall or the firewall of the car. Also finalize this thing. I went over to the workshop annex in Frogtown and squirted paint around the perimeter where the motor bolts to the transmission, so that when I uninstall it, I can reinstall it and have a shot at having it be balanced when it's reinstalled. So we'll have to see. I'm going to mark it carefully, have scribed lines and the whole thing, just so I can get it within a hair of where it was. But for today, I'm just working in here, getting this stuff kind of packaged up so it'll be able to be deployed once I get the tuning done. So, good morning. So today's project is, now that I've got this thing mounted in the back of the box, is to figure out some kind of bus bar arrangement. These are the old bus bars that used to come off the last motor controller that blew up. They aren't suitable for this one. They're full of holes like Swiss cheese now. So I'm actually fabricating new ones. They will come off of the IGBT. This big honking capacitor will be hooked up between them, as well as the snubber. And then there will be lugs on the ends for the cables to come in and out. So I'm working on that now. It's kind of tight clearances, so it's got to be pretty precise. And you know, I'm dealing with nice thick copper, so it won't be the limiting factor in amperage or voltage. So stuff's kind of spendy though. I think I dropped 25 bucks on the two bus bars, so that's the way it is. All right, I'll show you some more later. Okay, so here's what we got now. Now that we made this into Swiss cheese. These will be the lugs for the cables coming in and out. This is going to get cut away on the red lines. These two holes do in fact line up with the big capacitor. Those holes line up in the top going into the IGBT rather nicely. And then on this end, this has got to be supported because, you know, the bus bars are sticking out a good 4 inches from the IGBT. Turns out that the heads on these perfectly make up the distance between the top of the hockey puck, which is a good insulator, and the bus bar. So once I glue this in place and have the correct lugs installed, this thing will just lay down perfectly level, and I can secure it in place. So more coming soon. So here it is roughed in. It's attached to the IGBT here and here. This will be the battery ground that leads out. These are the lugs. It'll go to the heavy cables. This end, these are the cables that go away to the motor. Big old capacitors there to smooth out the flow. I have yet to attach the snubber, but that'll be relatively easy. I might even move that off into the case and just run wires to it. So that's it for now. I'm going to buy a couple different screws, different lengths, and a couple more washers, because then you never have the right ones. And finalize this. I'm going to glue this puck in place. Right now it's just held in place by pinch pressure, but it's perfect. So I really lucked out there. And then we'll move on to the next thing. Hello. So the construction on this is pretty much complete. I got these bus bars made and bolted in. This needs to be insulated, and actually this piece can go away. That's not needed, so I'll trim that off and then angle this over so it's less likely to be galled on the positive leg. But I've got the big capacitor in. I got everything set up. These are the motor leads. Those will ultimately go to the big motor, and I'm just going to retest everything to make sure I didn't blow it all up during the process of assembling all this stuff. The metal box is in pieces, but it should assemble right around all this. This It just attaches to this back plate. The sides come in, and then I can fiddle around with adding heat sinks, because this thing probably generates considerable heat. But it's attached to this aluminum plate, which is attached to this aluminum plate, which will be attached to heat sinks. So, you know, there's a good chance it'll shed heat. It's not like I'm going to be racing this car. Yeah, so I'll cue it up again in a second, and you can see if the motor turns and all that. Okay, 85 volt battery array, runs to the motor controller, which is controlled and turned by the Arduino, which is controlled and turned by this little throttle, and the motor's a motor. That works. So today I'm going to uninstall this motor from the engine bay and take it back so I can test it as against the motor controller and the full-on battery array. Words cannot express to you how little I want to uninstall this motor from the car. So that first bracket has been unbolted. It actually supports the drive shaft as well, so that's a fairly crucial piece that we fabricated in an earlier episode. So that's out of the way. I just have to remove the bolts that are holding that onto the motor adapter, and we should be able to sling this thing and take it out. I'm actually going to rig the sling now, since I don't want any, you know, this motor actually dropped like an inch. So got to get that slinged in and supported before I remove those last bolts. Okay, we got 85 volts running over to the controller, or the IGBT, and we've got house power connected to the Arduino box. We've got a temporary jumper literally running over to the motor. Let's go ahead and attach power. The only thing that's different from the test the other day is that, of course, now we've got a much larger motor. So everything has changed, but in a sense nothing has. So let's go ahead and apply some power. And nothing is happening. What the hell? Yeah, nothing's happening. Great. That's great. Let me do some troubleshooting. I'll get back to you. Okay, within this tangled mess, going into this 100 amp IGBT, I have implemented what's called an RC snubber circuit. I have a 0.5 ohm resistor here and some fairly small value capacitor, and they are bridging the battery negative and the battery motor positive. And what that does is, when I take power off, when the magnetic field collapses in the motor and sends up a voltage spike, this absorbs it. And even though this IGBT is far less capable than the one I blew up last weekend, it now seems to be working. You can see that's turning over. It's probably about a 25% duty cycle, and I can run it up to about 50. So that's about 50. Again, that's running through this tiny little IGBT, which is not rated for this. And it runs. It's running. And when I take power off, it stops, spins down, but the IGBT does not go to hell, which is... So, when the replacement 500 amp, 500 volt IGBT arrives next Tuesday, I may be in business. Fingers crossed. So I will continue working to clean all this up and make everything pretty in boxes. And when the IGBT comes, I'll throw that in. Got the same model as the last one, and hopefully I'll have a functioning motor controller then. Can it even be so? I have no idea. That's all for now.